Hey everyone, and welcome to People of Substance by Lemon Skies. I'm Olga. People of Substance is a weekly, usually weekly, live stream where we talk to some of the thinkers and doers in the nonprofit sector and just really cool people that are doing interesting things to make a difference in the world. I'm so excited to introduce you to Dennis Hoffman, a peer, a friend, and Dennis is a founder of Engage USA, a company that processes contributions. So he can say more about that. And he, in his spare time, does blogging. He has a podcast, and he has another really interesting hobby that we'll talk about. Right, Dennis? Please say hi.
Great to be here, Olga. Thanks for having me. Should I just start?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so I'm the founder of Engage USA. We're a lockbox that processes donations for large national and some statewide nonprofit organizations, political candidates, and advocacy organizations. I never planned to go into caging. I was a fundraiser. I was a direct mail copywriter and then a partner in an agency. And I could see how much inaccurate, incomplete, and slow data was costing my clients. So I started searching for a lockbox that understood that data is just as important or even more important than the actual donation. And when I couldn't find one, I started my own. I'm a fundraiser at heart, so I started Engage with to serve fundraisers. And I developed it with data hygiene in mind and saw my clients start raising more money. And because clean data means happy donors, better, higher quality analytics, and frankly, increases the bottom line for the nonprofit. And the way we do it, it's no secret. In fact, that I love taking people on tours. We image everything. We work in as paperless of an environment as you can get in direct mail. Everything gets imaged. We use optical character recognition to read the response data, the who it's from, the amount. We apply it back to we verify it, and then we're able to provide our clients with their data and their deposit on the next business day.
So for people that don't know direct mail, essentially lockbox or caging. So when a donor mails a check, that check somehow magically needs to make it into your bank account. And that's essentially what you do. And since it's handling sometimes credit card numbers, sometimes checks, there's obviously some sensitivities around it. With caging, what are some things that can go wrong?
There's a massive list. The things that concern me the most is incorrect data. The data we all fundraisers, no matter what kind of fundraiser you are, you use data to make decisions about your next campaign, and so data that's inaccurate, data that's mismatched, data that has just errors in it is incredibly costly to any fundraiser.
Yeah. And you probably get phone calls at the end of fiscal year, end of quarter from clients. How many stacks do we have to process? Let's get them in. I'm sure you get those phone calls.
Well, we actually process the vast majority of the mail within 24 hours. We have a fleet of high-speed scanners. We have people, machines that open the mail. People drop it onto the scanner. It goes into the information, then goes to a digital processing to a system, proprietary system that reads the information, reads the check, the return address, reads the amount. We try to match it back to the client's file. Most of the mail at that point is completed. And the mail that isn't, we call them snippets, because we don't, in order to protect data privacy, we only send the piece to the key punch person they actually have to key. So if we can't verify the amount of the donation, we'll send them a little photo of the dollar amount somebody hand wrote, or if we can't verify when it's spelled out, we'll send that piece, or their city or whatever it is we're trying to verify.
That's so cool. So you're one of those, you're like a fundraiser's fundraiser. I feel like you love fundraising. You do fundraising. Your background, you've sort of gone a full evolution from writing, fundraising, and strategy to kind of managing this massive operation. And just listening to you describe it, it sounds very, very high tech and very complex and sophisticated. So why do you love fundraising so much?
So I grew up poor, and I never knew it. I went to camp every summer in the Chesapeake Bay. I went to a Catholic school. I never understood until I was an adult looking back that my family was struggling to keep a home, and that my mother was a single mom, and that it was philanthropy of other people that allowed me to have a middle class, maybe even upper middle class lifestyle. That we had Christmases that our church would give us Christmas presents under a tree, and I know that I'm who I am today because of strangers, people I don't know who helped my family. And I love fundraising for that reason, because it's a way of helping other people, or giving other people the gift that I received.
Dennis, I've seen you over the years talk and post and highlight a whole slew of different causes. And I'm sure in your line of work, you encounter just the broad swath of different nonprofits in different areas, everything from health to animal welfare to emergency relief, et cetera. What causes would you say are closest to you personally?
So my three boys are adopted. They lived in institutions before they came home, and my kids were they were well loved in the places they lived. They were well cared for. I'm super grateful to the people who took care of them, but they lived in institutions and they deserved families. And that's the cause that's nearest to my heart, is helping kids to have families.
I'm getting goosebumps. Now, your boys are how old now? Do we have similar age kids?
No, my boys are a little bit older than your kids, I think. Mine are 15, 17, and 19.
Okay. So yeah, I'm just a couple of years behind you. I have 14 and 12 now, actually. So I can imagine. Mm-hmm.
It goes fast now.
It goes slow, 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 and then suddenly it accelerates, right?
Absolutely.
No, that's kind of my impression. So what trends are you seeing in the fundraising space? Sort of, we've had these 2+ years of pandemic climate. What do you see as kind of emerging, or maybe amplified, not emerging, trends in fundraising?
So one of the things I love is that the rules never change. The tools we use change, but the rules of fundraising are still the same rules that were here when they raised money to put up the Statue of Liberty. And it's about relationships. It's about feeling empathy for your donor, respecting the way that your donor wants to be addressed, being respectful. It's also about making your donor the hero of the story. Mm-hmm. And those rules are the same rules whether you're raising money on social media, or you're raising money in text, or having large events, and they're the same rules in direct mail. And I think as long as we remember that you can never thank your donor too many times, and you can never respect the fact that they're paying for your work, I think that those are the big rules, and those are the things that continue across all kinds of fundraising.
I like what you said about making donor the hero of the story, because it's so easy to fall into the trap of, look at all the amazing things we're doing and achieving, but it's sort of tucking that in a little bit and focusing on who makes it possible and giving your donor the spotlight, and and also in celebrating the wins, also still not forgetting to articulate the need, because if there's no need, no one writes you a check to congratulate you.
Absolutely. I think that we, as a society, we don't practice gratitude enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that is important in my family. At the end of dinner every night, we ask our kids to say something they're grateful for that day. And it's the key to fundraising, to raising money for the causes that we care about.
What's too many thank yous?
You can't thank people too many times. And nobody's going to ever be upset with you for giving them credit for something that they didn't accomplish. I was at a wedding, and in one of the toasts, they gave me credit for introducing the couple who was getting married. And I didn't do that, but it made me really happy that they gave me credit. I feel the same way. I feel like donors feel the same way. I think that if you're worried that you're overdoing it with thanking them, they've been not thanked often enough to make up for your extra thank you this time.
So to go back to fundraising for a second, for probably the past decade plus, or maybe longer, we've been hearing direct mail is dead. How would you comment on that?
So the first time I heard direct mail was dead, it was in 1989. Jerry Hunsinger, who founded a large fundraising agency called Hunsinger and Jeffers, wrote an article in Nonprofit Times, and he told the story of a woman, I believe she was in Iowa, who had died on July 7th, 1987. And I made up the date, by the way. But sure. And he said she was the peak, that when from now on, fundraising, the number of direct mail donors was going to decline. And it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek article that he wrote, saying people have always said that people will keep saying that things are getting worse, and they don't. But my entire career, people have said this was the end, and there was a long time I believed them. And I think there will be a day that I think the way that people give will change. But my clients are more successful than they've ever been before. Direct mail is very much alive, and it's still the backbone of most nonprofit fundraising.
Yeah. So the company Engage USA, is it 15, 16 years? It's been a while. You've been in business.
Actually, about 20 years.
20 years. Okay. So it's almost old enough to consume alcohol, which we'll get to. So what would you say to somebody? What is the best thing and the most difficult thing about being a company founder?
So the hardest thing is being lonely. If not having my normal peer groups are not my peers as a business owner. My friends who are engineers or attorneys, when I was founding the company and I would talk with them about issues I was having, they couldn't relate. They would say, "Oh, it must be awful for you being able to take vacation whenever you want and come and go as you please." And when I'm having an issue, I'm trying to figure out how to hire someone above one of my, in the organizational chart above one of my current employees, and how do I navigate that? And I had nobody to talk with, and that was the hardest thing. Happily for me, I read an article in Inc. magazine about that issue, and I ended up joining a group called Entrepreneurs Organization, and I now have a informal board of directors that we meet and help each other to navigate the decisions, making better decisions as a business owner. The good is I get to love what I do every day. I get to chart. I get to chart the path for my business. I get to help, well over 100 different nonprofits to make the world a better place, and I feel incredibly blessed or lucky, whichever term you want to use, to be in that position.
Yeah. No, I can definitely understand kind of you need to find your people. And, if you've not been in that position of having to drive everything and make decisions, and it can be very lonely. So I think forming those connections and meaningful relationships makes such a difference. Um, so you founded this company, but you didn't stop there. So I hadn't known this for a while, but I recently learned that you have another business of a very different variety called District East. So I've been dying to ask you about how that came about and what it is and what it does.
Sure. It's kind of a funny story. My office used to look into a skateboard company, and it was cool. They made skateboards there, and so when they developed the building, they put big windows from our office into the skateboard company because it was a really neat view. And in fact, I sit about 10 feet away from one of those windows. And when the skateboard company went out of business, I was super concerned about who was going to move into that space because I would be looking into it all the time. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to, I was thinking, what if, a store, like a convenience store went in there, or, who knows? And I decided that what would be cool would be a beer store. I started out looking for someone else to run the beer store, and the guy who I found kind of faded away, didn't finish, and I ended up opening the beer store myself. It's called District East. We have over 1,000 rare, local, and unique beers. They rotate pretty regularly. If you come in tomorrow, you're not going to find a beer that was here 2 weeks ago. Often, we work with small craft brewers. We have a heavy concentration on Maryland, but we actually work with brewers all up and down the East Coast, and occasionally in the West as well.
So you own a huge beer store with 1,000 different types of beers to choose from.
Yeah, I wouldn't describe it as huge. It's the size of a small liquor store. We don't have liquor. We carry a little bit of wine, but mostly beer. And now the funny part about that is I don't drink beer. I used to, but a few years ago I decided I'd much rather eat my calories than drink them. And beer is kind of bread in a bottle, if you think about it. And if I can't have bread, then I can't have beer either. And but I still enjoy it, and I know it, and I kind of love helping people to find a new beer that they really love.
And Frederick is kind of becoming there's definitely a thriving food scene.
Absolutely. Brian Voltaggio is from Frederick. He's a nationally known chef, and when he opened his first restaurant, Volt, 12 years ago, I think, it made everybody else in town up their game. And so when you can walk down Market Street or some of the side streets as well, and find just amazing choices for where to eat.
So I'll have to come out for a tour of what the processing and caging looks like, because it just sounds so cool, and stop by the local food scene. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me today, Dennis. It was really such a pleasure, and you're truly one of my favorite people. So thank you for taking the time.
It was great being here, Olga. You and I feel like we must have met before LinkedIn, but we really connected over LinkedIn. And there are a few people who kind of think the way I think, and you're one of them. you talk about gratitude a lot. You talk about being respectful for donors, and of donors. And I've enjoyed developing a relationship with you.
Thank you, Dennis. Right. Thanks for joining us.